finds in terms of instruments for the research questions. So I just wanted to share just a quick update on this. So I have revised the problem statement here. It looks a bit long, but yeah, I could kind of go back over that again. In terms of the purpose statement, I've also revised that and added a bit, excuse me, a bit of information based on your comments. Um, in terms of the research questions, so the biggest developments that I had were one, finding actually a really great site. Um, Fixin has this, and colleagues have this active implementation research network, and it actually has a ton of tools and different surveys and instruments that you can use to measure these different aspects. So in terms of research questions, I'm thinking that, or sorry, in terms of the study design, I'm thinking of sequential explanatory could actually work. And the idea would be to use one or more of these quantitative instruments to measure perception of participants. And I can just go through these briefly. So the first research question, right? How do teachers and administrators' readiness as measured by attitude and/or beliefs towards organizational change vary in terms of each of the following? And this is getting at this idea of readiness. And so there are these two really good instruments. One is Aaron 2004, and the other is I think I shared just a bit about these with you before in the previous little video I sent, Lemon et al. In 2002. So I haven't laid out all of the terms here, but these would be the potential areas of focus. So the intuitive appeal of the innovation, and that's coming from Aaron. How well the innovation meshes with existing requirements. And these are from the stakeholder perception, right? Openness to new practices, and then the perception, the perceived divergence of the innovation from existing practices. These are all from the Aaron instrument there. And then there are two other groups of questions focusing on motivational readiness and organizational climate, which would, I think, help capture a lot of information related to this question. And so the questions that you shared down here were awesome, and I think many of these, if not all of them, are actually part of these instruments here. So these are the elements, and I would have to revise the instrument and go over it to make it kind of accessible and doable, right? If it was going to be a survey sent out, it couldn't be obviously hundreds of questions long and all that. So the second research question: how do teachers and administrators awareness of critical system factors? And these are super related to the drivers of implementation, vary in terms of each of these different areas. And so Van Dyke and Fixin and others have developed this tool called the heptagon tool. And so it focuses on these different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 areas. And there are specific questions that I think could be captured through a survey. Again, this instrument I think would have to be developed, but it is based on this instrument here. So heptagon, categories and questions. Another option would be that this would be part of the qualitative phase. So there are two other qualitative research questions. This one is related to the stage, and so this actually is a kind of like a checklist that you go through, and they've developed specific instruments that allow you to assign the innovation to one of these stages. And that's important because the other things are connected to which stage it's at. So, for example, if it's in the installation or initial implementation stage or full implementation, and they have a list of I'm having trouble finding it. Sorry, a list of characteristics and basically a checklist that involves, here it is, that involves identifying different characteristics. So this wouldn't be so much a survey as collecting information for each of these to assign which stage. And this is one example, this sick, but ours would be slightly different, just to be appropriate for the context. And then the fourth is related to what's called the implementation quotient. And so again, it requires fidelity criteria, but I need those anyway for this. And then basically measuring staff across an axis of different across a range of a range of different factors, and then basically assigning a score. And so it allows you to quantitatively look at the implementation progress in terms of how many staff are actually meeting the criteria for fidelity. The qualitative research questions, so I guess it's only one question, has to do, they've trademarked this Implemap, implementation landscape mapping approach, which is basically, so it'd be a key informant kind of interview setup where you wouldn't be talking with tons and tons of people, but focused on people who had been at the school for a long period of time. And it goes through a semi-structured interview approach. That is directly tied to the drivers, and basically what you get out of that is something about the general process for implementation support, that's not potentially specific to a chosen implementation that we would set up as the straw man. So I've left these things at the back because I just don't want to forget them or keep reflecting on them. Those are the current, that's the current status of the questions that, based on a lot of really interesting findings, I think would be doable because other people have done them. There are instruments here for them that can be adapted or used in full. And I think these would help craft the kind of funny, the implementation, I'm sorry, the intervention related to implementation in the reconnaissance phase. So thanks.